We have spent the last several decades systematically devaluing sleep. Western professional culture, in particular, has treated the ability to function on reduced sleep as a marker of ambition, discipline, and high performance. The data that has accumulated over the past 20 years should force a complete reassessment of that cultural position, and the fact that it largely hasn't is itself a public health failure worth examining. The epidemiological evidence is now extensive and consistent. Chronic sleep deprivation, defined as habitually sleeping fewer than 6 hours per night, is associated with all-cause mortality risks that compare unfavorably with smoking. This is not a marginal association. It appears across large-scale population studies from multiple countries and research groups. The biological mechanisms are increasingly well understood. Sleep deprivation impairs immune surveillance, disrupts metabolic regulation, elevates inflammatory markers, and destabilizes cortisol architecture in ways that compound cardiovascular and neurological risk over time. The Alzheimer's connection deserves specific attention because it points to something that most people are not yet aware of. During deep slow-wave sleep, the glymphatic system, effectively the brain's waste clearance infrastructure, becomes highly active, flushing metabolic byproducts including tau and amyloid beta proteins. These are the same proteins that accumulate as plaques and tangles in Alzheimer's disease. Even one night of sleep deprivation measurably increases amyloid accumulation in the brain. Chronic sleep disruption over years and decades, in this model, is not just a risk factor for Alzheimer's, it may be one of its primary drivers. This reframes sleep from a passive recovery state into an active biological maintenance process. And that reframing has real clinical consequences. Sleep optimization, not just the treatment of obvious sleep disorders like apnea, but the active management of sleep architecture, duration, and quality, should arguably be considered a frontline preventive intervention for cardiovascular disease, metabolic syndrome, and neurodegenerative conditions. The fact that it isn't yet coded and reimbursed as such is a regulatory and cultural lag, not a scientific one. The emerging technology around sleep tracking and optimization is promising but needs careful handling. Consumer wearables now measure sleep stages with reasonable accuracy, and clinical-grade EEG-based systems can distinguish slow-wave from REM sleep with precision. Targeted acoustic stimulation, delivering specific sound tones timed to slow-wave oscillations, has shown the ability to enhance deep sleep architecture without pharmaceutical intervention. That is a significant advance because the pharmaceutical alternatives all carry meaningful dependency and neurological risks. The warning to issue here is directed at the wellness industry rather than the science. Sleep optimization has been colonized by supplement marketing. Melatonin, magnesium, ashwagandha, CBD, much of which has extremely limited clinical evidence at the doses sold to consumers. The commercial narrative around sleep often produces anxiety about sleep, which is itself one of the most reliable ways to impair it. The most evidence-backed interventions for sleep quality remain behavioral: consistent timing, controlled light exposure, temperature management, and reduction of late-day stimulant consumption. These are not commercially exciting. They are, however, what the evidence actually supports.